What is up, my ninjas? I'm STRYDENT, and today we are taking a look at the Cobra Fury. This is the Pursuit of Cobra version of the Cobra Fury. Now, this particular vehicle came to me via or courtesy of G.I. Joe 4157. He was awesome enough to send me one along with the driver and a bonus figure. So thank you so much, homie. I am super appreciative of this. I managed to actually, that one came and I got the message right after I had closed the deal on my very own, Cobra Rage. So I have two of them now, but either way, I'm still super thankful for it. So thank you so much. I'm gonna jump right into the review. This is gonna be a little different from how we typically do it because I want to focus on just getting in all the little details about this vehicle. So this is an update to the Cobra Rage. I think on Facebook I had referred to the Fury as the Rage because, it's the same vehicle. There was one released in 1990 and then there was another one released in 1997. And if you notice, one of the big differences are the, I want to say almost conical wheels, which get an update here in the Cobra Fury. I think I like the Fury better. Now, just looking at it, it's got a beautiful, very sleek kind of design for a tank, especially. It's very low to the ground, which is awesome. This thing looks like it would fly through, it would move at high speeds and be able to fly through barriers and barricades and buildings, almost like a Batmobile, sort of, very, designed for the city streets, And I like using this with the shock troopers because, they're your urban warfare specialists, so it looks perfect with them. While I was playing around with this thing, though, I was seeing, all kinds of little details that, I didn't really know about until having it in your hands. And a lot of it you can't really tell until you have it in your hands. Obviously you can see the cannon on the side and, the main cannon where the shock trooper is seated. You can see the secondary cannon, which shoots out some kind of rocket. And then you can see, guns in the front. In the very, very front, there's like a chain gun there. And then there's one on the side next to the rocket launcher or secondary cannon. You got missiles on the sides of the main gun. But you got a lot of space for other things. So immediately I want to get into the driver, which is the Cobra Alley Viper officer. He's pretty much an Alley Viper without a shield. I like the color scheme. It works for this urban warfare, whole thing. They gotta have darker colors, lots of grays and such, and he looks good. The one that I got off of eBay, the one I got right before this, did not have the driver, so I'm really grateful to G.I. Joe 4157 for hooking me up with this. Now, I just think of him as a lesser Alley Viper. You know what I mean? When I say lesser, maybe he's not as well trained as the standard Alley Viper, because in my universe, there's only one Alley Viper. A lot of people seem to have issues with that, but I remember exclusively when Operation Dragonfire came out and all that, all the comics and such, there was one Alley Viper. Later on, they started making Alley Vipers a standardized unit of Cobra, but, it's always going to be a special soldier in my universe. Now, I'll make it where there have been several different Alley Vipers or a few different Alley Vipers, but he's a very specialized super trooper for Cobra. The front of the or cockpit of the Rage can fit two drivers or two soldiers, a pilot and a co-pilot, or a driver and a backup driver. It's pretty spacious. All the detailing in there, it's pretty decent. The seats are detailed, and there's like a control panel in between the two of them, and it looks really good. I'll get to that one in a little bit, but you also have some instrumentation up on the side. The roof panel. The doors. It's only on one side because the other side is vented so that they can see through. But I always imagine whenever you see a closed door, and there's no detail on the door and there's no window, that you get a heads-up display. There's some kind of virtual display that pops up. Just like what I've said before about the Alley Viper's mask on the inside. You get like an Iron Man style display so he can see things pinging and popping, and kind of a virtual layout of what's in front of him. Like I said earlier, you can see the instruments. There's one sticker application that goes in there. It was difficult. Um, there's a lot of stickers for this thing, but it looks good. It looks really good. Nothing is overdone, and that's what I like about it. It's exactly enough information for you to understand what is going on the inside. Sometimes, though, I do wish that the interiors of many of these vehicles had like a stick or a steering wheel or something, because they kind of need that. But even without it, it's still nice to see the space fitting for your, the drivers. The same thing goes for the gunner seat. There's a nice little display up there, like a HUD, and there's plenty of room for your figures to sit in there. And it works perfectly. Moving to the front of the vehicle, we have that chain gun. I love it. You have lights underneath, and you have lights behind the grate or the battering ram. But that gun is nice because it's the first thing to fire on your enemies. It's got a nice little dial on the top for you to spin it, so it gets that spinning action, and it sits nestled right in between the battering ram and the actual tank itself, which is nice. When the battering ram comes down, you still have the gun there, and the gun is tucked back because the ram moves forward enough to kind of give you more protection on the gun, so you can't shoot out that gun because there's this armored battering ram in the front. It's nasty stuff, man, especially because this thing looks like it's fast, It looks like it's really fast, and like it's not going to have problems jumping and going over rubble and such based on the design of the wheels. The wheels are pretty different. They're kind of I don't want to say conical, but it's like a compound wheel, a thick wheel in the interior and then a little thinner wheel or smaller wheel on the exterior, and they're on the same axle, which is pretty dope. Uh, a lot of Joe reviewers would go over the realistic applications of these kind of wheels. I believe that these wheels are larger to allow for mobility on any number of terrain. I mean, now if you're in the city, it's going to be rubble, it's going to be water, it's going to be people. You know what I'm saying? It's pretty. That's it. Mud. But that's it. And I wanted to add that these wheels are a little different from the ones found on the original 1990 version and the 97 version. The 97 and 90 versions are a little bit more conical and smooth. These are more compound wheels. Next, we have the long-range dual-barrel concussion cannon. I just call it the big-ass laser cannon. The thing's a monster, and it's awesome because it's not what you would typically find on such a fast-moving vehicle. On the side, they don't name this on the newer one, so I'm calling it the pop-up rocket launcher and the high-intensity Gatling cannon, because that cannon looks just like the other cannons on the Cobra Fury. But it's a nice rocket launcher. It reminds me of the big launchers that come with the many of the Rise of Cobra figures, if not all of them. And it fits perfectly, and I like that Gatling cannon sitting on the side of it. On the side of the larger cannon, you have side-mounted air-to-air full blast missiles. I don't know how full blast differentiates from, any other blast missiles, but that's what they're listed as. Now, the hidden Gatling cannons that are aiming at the back are called full rotating multi-shot high-intensity machine cannons. That's why I call the smaller one high-intensity machine cannon. They're nice hidden Gatling guns. They do a little bit more when the concussion cannon is in the elevated position, which is what you see here. Now you have height. It can shoot, a little bit. Unfortunately, the barrel can't move down. You know what I mean? Like just the double cannon itself. They call the housing that it's sitting in the blast-proof aerodynamic programmable cannon turret. So apparently you can program it to do stuff on its own without having a gunner in the seat. But when it's elevated, you can allow for your gunner to have a higher vantage point. Also, it allows the turret to rotate all the way around, which is pretty awesome. Also, it allows the double those Gatling cannons, the whatever they call them, the high intensity machine cannons. It allows them to rotate underneath and hit not only the back, but also kind of swipe around and hit things on the side as well. So that's pretty dope. You cover that whole corner of the vehicle. I think that's a good idea. It's pretty devious when you think about it, and it makes it kind of it complements the fact that this is a fast-moving tank. You know, it could be swooping through streets, shooting at, you know, sidewalk and alleys and buildings and such. So it would allow for some cool, you know, action set pieces in my mind. Just having that kind of articulation on the guns. So, you know, that's a dope piece. Now this piece here, the remote swing down burst activated projectile launcher. At first I thought it was some kind of like, I don't know, like a sound something or other, but technically it's a missile array pod. As you look closely, you can see there's tiny little missiles that are sitting in those little points in the very front of the cone. So that thing pops out, and just think Macross. It just shoots out bunches of missiles, you know what I mean? And they're probably housed in the back portion of the cone. Pretty dope. This thing is just armed to the teeth. I mean, you can kind of see why it's called the Rage or the Fury, because, I mean, it's just an angry-ass vehicle. I mean, just think about multiples of these rolling through streets. I mean, it would be some evil shit, you know? It would just be, oh, man. I like this part. This is the Z1 mine dispenser system. At first, I didn't get what this was until I was putting the stickers on the mines, and I was like, holy shit. This was, because I put it together without looking at the instructions. I like to do that with stuff. I don't know. It's that Transformers fan in me, I guess, that does that. But I didn't think that the mine dispenser system would actually work the way that it's supposed to. Because, you know, on a lot of these vehicles, things don't always work exactly the way that it's intended, you know? And over time, they work even worse. But with this, it's so simple. And it's like they measured everything out perfectly, that the mines drop exactly where you want them to drop, and as long as the tank is moving forward, the mines will fall right behind the tank. And I was like, wow. You know, it's funny how the little things, they go a long way when it comes to these kinds of vehicles. I mean, I was pleasantly surprised that this worked so well. It kind of became one of my favorite things about it, and it's such a simple little detail. You know, it's kind of like it's dropping little discs behind it, essentially. And it doesn't matter if you're playing on the carpet, or if you're playing on the floor, or if you're playing on the dirt or grass outside. As long as the grass isn't like super high, and even if it is kind of high, the tank itself will make the grass lay down, and you will drop the mines behind you. It's pretty damn dope. I love this detail, and I'm really glad that they did that. You know, it just sets off the whole, you know, vehicle, and it makes it it's another threatening piece of the vehicle's arsenal. You know, now there are pegs all over the place, so you can have Cobras standing on the sides and standing on the back of this vehicle, which is dope. It just adds to the capacity. So if you like to cram your your vehicles full of your various ranks, you can do that here. You can put at least 2 on each side, and in the back there's a rail. The rail is pretty cool because it allows for you to have 2 guys and have one hold on to the rail while the other one can be holding on to the gun. I don't see this often on vehicles, you know, and it could just be the vehicles that I've been, you know, cherry picking, but I like that feature. You know, it works really well with the pegs. Sometimes side pegs alone are just meh. You need something for them to realistically hold on to, because, I mean, you got to be realistic. They're not, in this respect, you got to be realistic. They're not just going to be floating there, you know? But unlike many of the guns on a lot of vehicles, when they stand up on the back and they're holding on to that big gun, it actually looks like they're holding on to the big gun. It's sitting chest high, so instead of, you know, having your figure kneel down and shoot like so many of the, you know, various guns on other G.I. Joe and Cobra vehicles, this one is in the right place for a change. And it's not that large of a tank, so it's kind of cool that they did this, you know. The pegs are in the right place. You know, they've measured out the space so that your, you know, Cobras are actually standing up, and it looks natural. It doesn't look weird. You can have one guy stand on the side, one side, and use one peg, and there's still room enough for his feet. And you can have another guy on the other side, which is dope. You probably could fit a third guy in between the two pegs, which to me, that's just dope. I mean, if you really want to do that, but he could kind of hang off the edge and shoot back. Not that you need more firepower aimed behind this tank. I mean, this tank's got it covered. So, you know, if you had two of these side by side, it's a wrap. Nothing's getting past this guy. I mean, they've got guns practically everywhere. And, you know, not to mention, obviously, if you have another guy hanging off the back, then you literally have the whole entire tank covered. You know, imagine if you had guys on the left and right sides, the back, as well as the various cannons aiming all over the place. It's just, man, this is a mean ass vehicle. That's all I can say. This is a mean ass vehicle. Now the lights, I like the lights, the way they pop up right in front of the vehicle, and there's the little space inside of the battering ram for them. You have lights in the back as well, which are pretty dope. You know, stop lights. You gotta have these things. They're little details that I guess, you know, if you hate stickers, then they're a pain in the ass. But if you like stickers and you like the way it brings out, you know, little details on your vehicles, then you're gonna like this. They don't look like an afterthought, even though they probably were an afterthought. You know what I mean? They could have been sculpted, but you know, I'm not complaining. Those kind of things, those kind of details don't bother me. The little hazard stripes or hazard tape around the missile pod or missile array pod, I like that. It's pretty cool. You know, I like when they have the little warning stickers, you know, or the little hazard caution stickers all over the place. That's pretty dope. There's a lot of cool detail on the inside. It almost gives you the impression that when this thing closes up, it gets reloaded inside the interior of the vehicle and then pops back out, you know, fully loaded to do its business. Now, of course, you have a removable engine cover. I mean, you've got to have those. Most of the coolest vehicles in the line always tend to have some kind of removable cover somewhere. The Pit had a couple of them in different places, which I dug. But, you know, this one's no different. It's very old school in the fact that, you know, once you remove it, you've got all this detail, you know. I love when they do this kind of stuff. They call this engine a hydrocharged multi-port 25 valve thruster engine. I'm not a car person. I don't know what all that means, except for the hydrocharged part, which is pretty dope. I like it. The details are nice. They're simple. Usually, I only pay attention to the details of how things work if it, you know, tends to be the Achilles heel for the vehicle. Some of the other stickers that I liked on here that stood out to me was the Armored Mad, the Metro Armored Mad Division. I like that. It's kind of a cool, you know, little nod to the fact that they operate in your cities. And I liked it on the cannon. It has the Joe symbol twice, essentially saying that they've knocked out two GI Joe vehicles of some sort, or maybe they've killed two Joes with this thing. So overall, you know, you got a vicious, vicious vehicle. And now for the bottom line. So the bottom line on this guy, this awesome, vicious ass vehicle, is that it is a vicious ass vehicle. So if you're Cobra Forces, if you're looking for tanks that properly complement the Cobra H.I.S., this is perfect. The H.I.S is a high-speed, you know, kind of multi-purpose tank. This is another high-speed, multi-purpose tank. It probably has lighter armor than the H.I.S, but it's equally as effective, and it's fast, and it's good for cities and stuff. You know what I mean? City, urban warfare. So if you're going to use your shock troopers, your alley vipers, if you decide to have multiple alley vipers, me, I only have the officer and the you know, standard alley viper in my ranks. This is good. I prefer putting shock troopers in this. I feel like it's just it just looks perfect with them. And it's not about colors. It's just about the practical application, you know, and the function of the particular soldiers that you put in this. So if you have, you know, shock troopers, if you have various Cobra troopers like the Dollar General Cobra troopers, this is perfect for them. It works, it looks good. As long as they're urban warfare specialists, I think you can't go wrong. So this has been my look at the Cobra Fury. This is the Pursuit of Cobra version of the Cobra Fury. This thing is a monster. I mean, it's properly made. You know, it looks like it's angry as fuck. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So, as always, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And this is just an S-Class vehicle. I have no issues with this vehicle at all. Again, I want to give a special thanks to G.I. Joe 4157. And as usual, that's it for me. You've been great. Peace outside. If you enjoyed what you saw, please give it a like, a share, let your friends know. Check me out on social media. All the links are in the description. And if you really want to help me out big time, jump on Patreon and support the channel. Every little bit helps, the smallest amount to the largest amount. And last but not least, check out my comic, War of the Gods. Issue 2 is on sale now on Indie Planet, and the links are in the description. It's some superhero fun, and as a smaller independent book, it needs all the views, all the eyes on it as possible. So check it out, show it to your friends. Every view helps greatly. And yeah, that's it for me. Thanks again.